Hello and welcome everybody to another session of Payment Gateway for Noobs. And in this part, we'll talk about the settlement process. So let's see what are the three parts of a particular transaction. So the first one is authorization. The second one is batch clearing or reconciliation. The third one is merchant settlement. In the past few videos, we have talked a lot about the authorization process. We have seen how the PIN, the customer PIN is transferred from the user till the issuer, and how the encryption and decryption happens at each stage, and how the PIN is validated on the issuer side. And not only the PIN, but it also validates the customer, the card, checks for its balance. And after all these things are done, the issuer puts the transaction amount on hold for the customer. So these all we have covered extensively in the authorization phase. So now let's talk about what happens in the batch clearing or reconciliation phase. So in this particular step, so the acquirer submits the information to the issuer and the scheme about all the transaction that has happened in a particular day. All the changes, all the charges and the fees are calculated at each stage, and then the bill is generated. And in this entire process, it's not only about the generation of bill, but it also is a process of comparisons. So at each stage, there is a comparison of records from the list of transaction and the amount, and everything is validated to see what the sender has sent and what the receiver has in his record. Then the number of transactions, the amount, and everything is calculated. And if it is if it matches, then it moves on to the next stage. And this receiver becomes the sender and it sends to the next stage. And there again, the records are matched against each other. So when all the records are matched, then it says that the reconciliation has happened. So now there's one thing to consider here. So this happens in a dual messaging system where you use a credit card to do a transaction. And then in the first stage, only the authorization happens and the transaction is complete and you get the goods. And then later on, somewhere down the line, the actual reconciliation and the settlement, then everything happens. But if it is a single message system, like say you are using a card to withdraw cash, then even the money transfer happens at the same instant. So uh, the actual transfer of cash also happens at the same time. In this dual message system, it happens at the later stage. And that is where we come to the third part, which is the merchant settlement. So what is settlement here? So settlement is the actual transfer of money between two entities. So it can be between issuer and scheme, or scheme and acquirer, and so on and so forth. So in one account, the amount is debited, and in the second account, the amount is credited, and it keeps on passing from one stage to the other. And that's how the final settlement of the amount happens. So now let's move on and see in a little bit in detail about the batch clearing. So suppose that let's take the example that we have been running with. So let's say Domino's was selling pizza since morning till evening, and now it's time for him to shut the shop and go home. So he would have used credit cards for most of the transactions. Now he wants to settle that, and he wants that the bank should give him the money for all the transaction that has happened throughout the day. So now what he'll do a cutover. So there are few ways how a cutover can happen. So the easiest one is in the POS machine itself. There is an option for the merchant to click on a cutover. So as soon as a cutover happens, the the batch for that particular day is generated, and any transaction which happens after this cutover will get added to the next day's batch. It will get added to the next day. And in case the merchant doesn't do a cutover on his own, then there are ways how this can be done automatically. This configuration can be there where um, just hypothetically saying that if till 10 p.m. if the cutover hasn't happened, then the gateway or some logic might be there. So that they might actually do the cutover themselves and then generate a new batch for the transactions. So usually the merchant will do it themselves. So Once they click on the cutover, the entire list of transactions as shown in the form of a file is sent to the acquirer bank. In this case, it's Axis Bank. Now, Axis Bank is not only serving this particular outlet of Domino's, right? It's serving a lot other people as well, or a lot other merchants as well. So it will collect all these files, all these batch files, and then create its own bunch of batch files, and it will forward it to the different schemes. So the different schemes here can be Visa, MasterCard, or Amex, or any other such provider. So in this example, we have seen that it is sending a bunch of batch files to Visa. Now Visa will do its own reconciliation that I talked about earlier. So the reconciliation happened at the Axis side as well. So it verified, it validated, and then only it passes on to a scheme. And if there is any discrepancies, then there are ways, different type of messages that can be sent back and forth to rectify and clear those discrepancies. But let's not get into so much of details. So just for a simple understanding, so it will collect all these batch files and then send it to the payment scheme, and the payment scheme will then further send it down to the different issuers. So let's say the file that is to be sent to HDFC, it will send there. The web file that is to be sent to ICICI, it will send it to that person. And along this entire process, they keep on adding their own charges and fees. So whatever fees Axis Bank or Visa or any other entity, if they want to add, they'll keep on adding, and then they generate this bill and send it to HDFC and ICICI and other issuers. Now comes the final stage about which is the settlement. So this flow is absolutely reverse of what we saw earlier. So earlier the files were moving from Domino's, and then one by one it moved finally to HDFC. Here during the transfer of funds, it happens the other way around. So now after evaluating the file, after evaluating all the charges and the total amount and all, HDFC will release X amount of funds towards Visa, and similarly ICICI will release Y amount of fund for Visa as per the whatever bills that it would have received. Now Visa will, once it receives the amount from, let's say, HDFC, it will keep the its own charges. Let's say, just saying that, let's say the bill amount was 1,000 rupees, and Visa charges in that was that were 20 rupees. So Visa will keep 20 rupees and then forward the other 920 rupees to Axis Bank. Now Axis Bank will, let's say it has its own charges, sorry, 980. So Axis Bank will have its own charges of 20 rupees. So it will cut 20 rupees and then forward 960 rupees to Domino's. This is just for explanation. I'm saying it's not that they will charge this amount or they have a separate percentage everywhere. So this is how the amount flows from the bank to the merchant. This is how the amount is settled. So that's how it gets credited to the account. So, and this monetary flow is for a sale transaction, where I'm saying. So during a sale, the debit happens at the issuer side. When I say issuer, it's actually it gets billed to the customer, and customer is actually paying. But before that, HDFC clears this bill and pays to the merchant. So debit is happening at the issuer side and credit is happening at the acquirer or the merchant side. And if it is a case of a refund, then in that case, the debit will happen at the acquirer or the merchant side from that account, and then it will get settled on the issuer or the customer's account finally. So that is how the sale and refund happens. I'm sure these videos would have been quite helpful in order to teach you some simple stuff about what this entire payment gateway is. And yeah, for more details, we always have documents, and if needed, we can always have more detailed videos with more technical aspects added to it. So that's all for now. Thank you. See you again sometime. Bye-bye.